All right, you guys, we have Unit 4, revamped, revised, and it's including those ideas of metric measurement from Unit 7. The new math room is right here. You can check it out. I will show it to you right here. Let's see what we got. Here's the front page. We have measuring stuff, so make sure kids in present mode, it works better. But I hit measurement, and you have the measurements, 2 measurement songs up here, and then you have all these measurement games, and then you have Khan Academy where they can go, and I'll just show you that one. And on the right side, this is all practice stuff for measurement for grade 2. They don't need to be logged in. And like me, I went through and tried measuring length in different units. I only did one problem. But it'll show me like how much of it I did, even though I may not be logged in. And then if they need a video, they're over here. But I thought it was cool. It has a lot of practice problems over here on the right for a kid to try out. We go back to the home page. You have the skip counting stuff. You have the read aloud book that's about measurement. The addition subtraction I thought to keep on there. For practice with that, and then number corner, same ideas right here, but then I included a bar graphing since it's working, you're doing bar graph in the calendar grid, and then working on subtracting and finding the difference. So this game is introduced right away in Unit 4. So that is the main stuff of the math room. So if I go back to the notes here, I just wrote it out in days. I didn't write it session by session because I totally revamped these sessions. And you're not making teacher feet or giants feet or doing any of that. We're going to these tools and we're seeing how to use them. So it has like 14 days, I think, here total, 14 days. So if it's going to take you longer, it takes you longer. If it's shorter, it's shorter. You decide how this will work. I was just kind of plotting it out here. So here's the pretest that looks very similar to last year's pretest. The measurement stuff is left out of it, like the lines. So I'm going to bring you guys copies of them. But if you scroll down, there are some new problems that incorporates the metric system in it that I took from Unit 7. So just be aware it's not exactly the same as last year. And then on this same day, I'm thinking you could introduce this game and use it more like a warm-up for kids to come in and play this game against someone. And it does not need to be on their Chromebook. It probably would be easier if it was on paper. So the directions for the game are here. Chromebook link is right here, and a paper copy of the game board is right here. General idea, working on subtraction and finding the difference between the two numbers. So what they're supposed to do is play against one other person. So let's say I'm blue, you're green, and if I go first, I toss the dice. They would need 2 dice. They toss it, they find the sum, so they work on their addition strategies. I got 13, and then they need to subtract and find the difference between 13 and 10. So instead of going 13 and counting back 10, I can find the difference between 13 and 10, and that's 3. Now, is there a 3 on this first leaf? No. So I can't move. I can't go. I can't skip to this leaf. I have to go leaf by leaf by leaf. And whoever makes it to the top leaf wins! So it's a pretty simple game. And again, instead of playing it on the Chromebook, you could print off a game board here. I know you do have some game boards that are in color already, but if you need more, you could do paper versions and then give everybody a spinner and 2 dice. So you would just use this game whenever, okay, throughout your measurement time to work on subtraction and addition strategies. Okay, day 2. Now is when you're going to put out the ruler, the measuring tape, a yardstick, and a meter stick. And maybe you put it at each table so that kids at each table could like look at all of them and notice things. Or you could all sit in a circle and look at these tools. Notice and wonder all of them. What do you think we use them for? Blah, 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 blah. We write our noticing wonderings on a piece of Anchor chart paper. And then after we do that, I could flip the paper around and write the heading, measuring length. That's what we're going to do. This is what they are used for, measuring length of something. or how far away something is. And then we'd write the definition of what length means on our anchor chart. So an example of one is here. And that for the coming days, we're going to look at measuring length in two different systems, one being the customary system, which is used here in the USA, and two other countries in the world. So there's only 3 countries in the world that use the customary system. Everybody else uses the metric. And I just thought that was a cool fact. Here's a map to show you where those 3 countries are that use the customary system. And we're going to practice with tools that'll be in customary or that'll be in metric. And so you wouldn't fill this entire thing out in one day. You would just get the headings in and then go forth every day and fill some more in. For example, day 3, now you're going to showcase the ruler. Now we're just going to look at the ruler. Everyone get a ruler. Let's notice the numbers on it, the units that could be used with it, which is inches, feet, and centimeters, which ones are customary, which ones are not. And then after we've had some talking about the ruler, now let's read about the story behind how the ruler came to be. And this is a great book to use. There is a video that's not the best reading of it, but if you want a big picture of the pictures, it's on there. We do have 1 copy in the library, and I have it checked out, so if you would like to use that, you can get it from me. And then finish off today by showing how high up 4 feet tall would be on the wall. Why? Why would we do that? Because in Gunnison at the rec center, you have to be 4 feet tall to ride the slide. So kids could check how close they are to that 4-foot mark. And we could figure out how tall 4 feet is by using our ruler. So then day 4, let's measure using the ruler. Let's actually get out there and measure. So what is about 1 foot long, right? In our classroom, what are things that are about 1 foot long? And in the song by Number Rock, which is right here, it'll tell you, well, it's the same as the length of a folder or the height of a pirate's parrot. So there's that song to incorporate in. And then you could use these recording sheets if you would like that I revamped. That has a kid, you would just use like this first page on this day of using the ruler and looking at just feet on the ruler. And they'd go through and write something that's less than a foot, something that's equal to a foot, something that's bigger than a foot. And then they find just anything they want and measure it to the nearest foot, okay? There are inches and centimeters on a ruler, so if a kid wants to then say, well, I want to measure it in inches too and centimeters too, they could. Or we could just erase that part, okay, and just look strictly at feet. So then come day 5, you're going to use the ruler again, but now we're going to focus on the inches side of the ruler. So now, how big is an inch? What things in the classroom are about 1 inch? The song says it could be a bottle cap or your thumb knuckle to your fingertip, 1 inch. Imagine you were 1 inch tall, and you could have them write about that. You could read the poem 1 inch tall by Shel Silverstein, okay, which is really cute. And then we go forth and measure in inches. So same recording sheet, but now it's going to be the inches part of it. And there is that copy of that poem. Day 6, if you want to incorporate some Chromebook measurement activity, this is a new tech-enhanced activity from Bridges. So here is a Google slide deck that a teacher could go through that introduces the idea of how big an inch is with an inchworm. And then here's a student practice. You could share this out in Google Classroom, and kids could work through it on their own. And then here's a real inchworm video that I've shared with you last year that you guys can look at as a class. So then you keep going. Day 7, you're going to use the ruler again, a 3rd time, but now we're going to focus on centimeters. So now how big is a centimeter? It's actually a little smaller than an inch. And so now you have a new Number Rock song, and then kids go forth and measure in centimeters. Next day, finally, we go away from the ruler and we go to a measuring tape. You say, okay, we're finally on to a different tool. But this tool has like the same sort of stuff as a ruler. So why would people choose to measure things with it? So you have a discussion of the advantages of using measuring tape. And then they go forth and measure using those blue measuring tapes. Then we bring in the idea of the yardstick and the meter stick, put them both together and be like, oh my gosh, they're almost the same. But one of them's a yard and one of them's a meter. So let's focus on the yard today, and let's go forth and measure things in yards. And then the next day, now let's focus on the meter, and just notice that our measurements are going to be pretty much the same as the day before, because a meter and a yard are around the same. And then day 11, there's the 12 snails measuring book that I shared out last year that I thought would still be good. It brings all of those measurement ideas together in inches, inches, feet, and yards. And then you could have a piece of tape on the floor, a mystery piece of tape, and have it be about 6 feet, like exactly 6 feet, but don't tell them this number. And then you would say, okay, you guys, how many yards? You'd start with yards. How many yards do you think? How many yards do you think this piece of tape is in length? You take some estimates, and then you actually use a yardstick and see that it's 2 yards. Okay, we know there's 2 yards. All right, now let's take estimates on how many feet do you think it's going to be? How many feet is this piece of tape? If we didn't measure in yards, how many feet? So then some kids are just going to know, and then we actually do it and see that it actually works. And then we finish with inches with that same piece of tape. Okay? All right, then day 12, measuring practice pages. Same type of problems each day. You have the 2 songs to do. I am making right now practice pages that have measurements for them to practice measuring inches and practice measuring centimeters and answer some questions about them, about like which one's longer, what if you put them together, or maybe you have some other practice pages you'd want to use. There's other Bridges practice pages to make use of that I'll have copied for you. And then Emily had some word problem type measurement pages that I'll have in a packet for you too to choose from. So it's kind of your own, do what you think is good for your kids. And if you think you need more days on whatever exploration activities you're going to do, take more days. Okay? And then you give out your post-assessment with measurement. And we're on Word to Unit 5. All right, you guys, there it is in 12 minutes.